What you heard in the secret holds what cannot be seen. You heard me there, in the place no one else could enter, in the stillness of your tears, in the aching moments where silence felt like abandonment, but it was actually a veil pulled back. To show you my presence, you heard me when you weren't sure if you were still able to. You heard me even when your heart trembled, and what you heard in secret was real. Yes, I speak in the quiet where faith is born. I speak where the soul lays everything down, not for applause, not for reward, but just to know me. You heard me whisper promises when nothing around you confirmed them, and that faith, that quiet, trembling, steady faith, is what is holding what cannot yet be seen. You did not imagine me. You were not alone. I was speaking not through thunder, not through fire, but through that still small voice within you. I told you it would come to pass. I told you I had not forgotten. I told you you were not forsaken. And now, beloved soul, I will teach you how the invisible is sustained by the eternal, how what seems forgotten in this world is actually being fortified in my kingdom. Do not despise the years when no one noticed. Do not fear the prayers that felt unanswered. Every seed you sowed in the dark, every time you believed though you saw no sign, every night you chose me over comfort, I was watching. I was building something deeper than you knew, not just an answer, not just a door, but a foundation inside. You one that eternity recognizes. You wonder, did I misunderstand? Was it me, or was it God? Have I waited in vain? No, I am the one who plants seeds of promise in secret gardens. I do not forget my own words. I do not forget your tears. I do not ignore faith, not even when it's the size of a mustard seed. I dwell in the unseen. Faith is not wishful thinking. Faith is sight in my realm. It does not ignore reality, it overcomes it. Faith holds what eyes cannot see because it holds what I have spoken. World demands proof, but I give you presence. The world offers noise, but I give you peace when you cling to what I said in the night, even when the morning seems empty. You are building a life in my dimension, a dimension not governed by decay, but by eternity. You were not foolish to believe. You were not naive to trust. You were never alone. You think no one saw the moment you chose me over what was easy. You think it didn't matter, but heaven wrote it down. Your sacrifices echo louder than applause. Your obedience in silence has opened invisible gates. I count not as the world counts. I see not as man sees. I reward not just acts, but faithful hearts that cling to me in secret. When you remember what I said in the hidden place, you are breathing air from another world. And that breath, that moment of faith, it is more powerful than armies do. You see it now. Everything that is visible was first birthed in the invisible. Everything eternal began in silence. And you, my child, have held more than you know. You held on to me when you could not explain why. You held on to hope when it had no form. You held on to the word I gave you, not for display, but for communion. And now, that word is taking root. I do not speak lightly, I do not lie, I do not start what I will not finish. And if I spoke it in the secret, I will bring it forth in the open when the time is fulfilled, but not before it has fully transformed you, not before it has done its work in you, because you are my dwelling place, not just my vessel, and I desire to live in faith, not performance. Faith is my language, and you have learned to listen. That is why you have been misunderstood. That is why others could not see what you were building. They looked for results, but I was looking for relationship. You did not lose time. You were gaining depth. You were not falling behind. You were being rooted in my voice. Remember this. The moment you said, Lord, I will trust you anyway, heaven opened, not always in a way you could feel, but in a way that shook the foundations of darkness. Because nothing confuses the enemy more than a child who still believes after being broken. What you heard was a kaya key, not to open doors only, but to sustain you in storms. That word I whispered to you is what has kept you alive. You may not see the fruit yet, but you have survived every lie because of it. Now hear me again. You did hear me. You are not lost. You are exactly where I knew you would be, and what you believed in secret, I will confirm in glory. You have wondered why the silence has lasted so long. You have asked if the quiet meant that I had withdrawn, if my delay was a sign that I changed my mind. No, beloved one, I have not changed my mind. My silence was not my absence. My stillness was not neglect. It was strategy. It was preparation. It was me building you into a place where faith is not seasonal, where trust is not tied to circumstance, where your soul knows that even when the visible denies me, the invisible confirms me. I am still speaking. I did not finish when the page turned. My whisper did not fade when the night changed its color. You carried part one within you like a glowing coal. Now I breathe on it again. Do not rush. Receive. Let every word descend as rain into the soil, that no eye measures, but all eternity knows. You have wondered if what you heard in the hidden room can survive the long road between promise and appearance. Listen, what you received in secret is sustained by me in dimensions where decay cannot enter. Time tries to erode memory, but it cannot dissolve revelation sealed by my spirit. You are not trying to keep a fragile candle lit in a storm. You are walking beneath the covering of my own flame. There were seasons when doors closed to you without reason, invitations vanished, voices that once affirmed you fell silent. You asked if you had displeased me. Hear me. I withdrew noise so you could discern nuance. I removed echo so you would learn tone. I let the crowd thin so you would recognize when it was my footstep drawing near. Hidden years are holy years. In them I rewire patterns of fear, uproot comparison, and anchor identity in communion rather than in outcome. If I had promoted what was still forming, pressure would have fractured you. I loved you too much to decorate what was not yet reinforced. I chose integrity over image. The weight of my whisper not every word I speak is light enough to carry in public. Some words are weighted with glory. They must rest in silence until the vessel is tempered. Think of metal fresh from fire it bends. While hot so I cool you in stillness. I seat you beside quiet waters. I speak again until the word no longer trembles inside you but settles, fused with trust. You said, should I tell them what you told me? I said, not yet. Revelation shared too early invites debate over what was meant to invite devotion. Guard what is holy. Even Mary kept and pondered certain sayings within her heart until the appointed season. I am not hiding truth from the world. I am growing truth through you. Carry my whisper the way priests carried the ark, shoulders steady, steps measured, consecrated attention. When mockery comes, do not argue. Worship. When delay stretches, repeat what I told you in the night, not what fear tells you at noon. You are stewarding a covenant, not a rumor. Seasons of apparent contradiction, you hold a word of life while walking through landscapes of loss. You carry healing while sickness visits your own house. You proclaim provision while numbers run dry. The contradiction is not proof that you misheard. It is the training ground of faith that refuses to outsource trust to circumstances. Remember, truth is not threatened by temporary data. Waves do not cancel the command that called you to cross. Storms do not revoke destinations. What I spoke before the wind rose still stands after it calms. When everything looks opposite, return to the secret. Ask not, did I fail? Ask what are you forming in me here that will stabilize others later? Because those who learn to believe me in contradiction become shelters for generations. Born into storms. Noise exhausts discernment. Stillness resensitizes it. I enroll you, repeatedly, in lessons of listening. The curriculum seems simple. Sit, breathe, wait, attend. Yet in these hours, I reset the instruments of your inner hearing. Static clears. Frequencies sharpen. You begin to distinguish me from memory, me from anxiety, me from expectation projected by others. When you come to me and say nothing, believing I will speak, that itself is faith. You are assigning value to my presence above productivity. You are confessing, your word sustains worlds, I will not manufacture one. In that humility, I pour wine new and strong. Practice this. Enter a quiet space. Lay down argument. Repeat the last thing you know I actually said. Ask for fresh breath. On it. Wait. Do not measure success by sensation. Even if you feel nothing, you are strengthening the muscle that holds the invisible trust. Sacred memory practices. Let us build memorial stones in your daily life so that what you heard in secret endures beyond fluctuating mood. Write date plus word. Record when you heard me and what I said. Return and annotate fulfillments, audio prayers. Speak the promise into a recording and play it back in dry seasons. Let your own faith prophesy to future you. Scripture pairing. Attach verses that echo the theme I spoke. Reading them reactivates alignment. Thanksgiving rhythm. Weekly, thank me specifically for the unseen work. Gratitude is adhesive for memory. Communion. Moments when you break bread. Remember covenantal words I spoke. My body and blood guarantee my faithfulness. These are not rituals to earn. They are anchors to recall. Blessing over those who carry hidden fire. Bless your inner hearing to clear of static. I bless your memory to retain what is holy. I bless your courage to guard revelation without isolation. I bless your patience to mature without bitterness. I bless your language to water, not wound, the seed within you. May the peace that attends my throne attend your waiting. May the joy set before you lighten load. May the Spirit who sealed the word keep it luminous through every night. I have not forgotten, I have not changed my mind. What you heard in the secret still holds. What cannot be seen remains more real than what presently resists you. Walk on, believe on, abide. I am the God who finishes. I remember the night no one else noticed, when the weight became too much and your strength ran out quietly while your voice stayed silent too. Didn't tell anyone you smiled when they asked, but I saw what was buried beneath the quiet I watched. You hold it all together even when your heart was fraying at the adducia. That your tears didn't matter. You thought your pain had to stay hidden, but I was there, not above you, not just near you, but with you in the deepest part of that silence. When no one else could, Goy heard the cries that never made it past your lips. I counted the tears that never touched the floor. You believed no one would understand, but I did. I always have. I have spent so long trying to be strong, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't think anyone would carry you, so you carried everything and buried yourself beneath the weight of it. But you were never meant to do it. Aloni was there, not watching from a distance, but holding you together. When your soul began to tremble, when your faith felt too fragile, when you questioned if I still listened, Eddie did every word, even the ones you were too tired to say. I understood your silence. I read your ache like a book. I didn't need explanations. I needed your heart. You didn't disappoint me. You didn't fall short. You didn't lose your place in my love because of the sorrow you carried. If anything, it made my love reach deeper, further, stronger, because I do not run from brokenness. I draw near to it. I do not shame weakness. I rest my strength within. I too were not invisible to me. I saw every moment you collapsed quietly in the dark, and I stayed, not to judge you, but to hold the pieces until you could feel again. You know how the world made you feel like you had to hide the truth to be loved, like tears meant you lacked faith, like sorrow disqualified you from hope. But I never asked you to be perfect. I only asked you to let me. Don't need polished prayers. I don't wait for the right words. I listen for honesty, and you've always been honest in your pain, even when you thought you were failing. You weren't. You were surviving, and I was helping you breathe when you didn't even know how every sob you released was heard in heaven, not as weakness, but as worship, as trust, as the sound of a heart still reaching for me even through the tear sand. You were never alone in that room when the walls felt cold and the silence felt endless. I was sitting with you, not saying much, just being near, because sometimes presence says more than words ever could. You thought no one would come looking, but I was already there before you even knew you were breaking. You don't need to apologize. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. You can be real with me. I am not afraid of your sorrow. I enter it. I redeem it. I transform it. Those tears, they watered seeds you haven't seen grow yet, and in time you'll look back and realize your darkest night was not your end, but the beginning of something sacred. No, it didn't feel holy. I know it just felt lonely, but I was in it, and wherever I am, there is light. Even when you didn't see it, even when you sat in the dark for what felt like forever, I was gently kindling something inside you, something that will not go out even if the storms reach anew. Thought the breaking would ruin you, but it was making room for what I've always wanted to give you. Me peace, not the kind the world offers, but the kind that meets you when everything else has fled. Me love, not the kind that leaves when you no longer feel useful, but the kind that stays even when you stop talking. Me voice, not loud, not demanding, but consistent, like breath, like morning light, like the steady rise of hope after a long wintry no. You feel tired still, and that's okay. You don't have to rush. Thistling doesn't happen in haste. It happens in presence, in honesty, in stillness, and you've already said more than enough by simply staying. Me take what you've tried to hide. Let me lift what's been too heavy. Let me breathe where everything has felt numb. You don't have to fight for my attention. You already have it. You don't have to prove you're worth healing. You already are. Asterisk. When I see you, I don't see a mess. I see my child still standing, still reaching, still meaned. If you need to cry again, do it. I will not turn away. I will not turn away. I will not sigh. I will not be disappointed. We'll draw near again and again, as many times as it takes, because you are worth staying for. You always have been, and one day the tears will stop, not because you forced them to, but because peace finally found a home in you, and joy quiet. Joy will rise like something long forgotten but never lost. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You are not behind. You are seen. You are known. You are loved, and I'm not done. This chapter is not the end. This night is not forever. This pain will not define you, and the next time you cry, you won't be alone. You never were. Asterisk. I know how long you've carried it, the ache that never found words, the weight others didn't notice. You became an expert in silence, a protector of emotions too deep to explain, but I was never confused by your quiet, never distant because of your sadness. I knew exactly where your heart was hiding, and I came for you there, and not with demands, not with pressure, but with Genos Bakakis. Healing never comes through force, it comes through presence, and I have always been present even when you questioned if I saw you I did, especially then you thought your breakdown disqualified you, but it drew me closer. You thought your sadness made you weak, but it revealed your need, and need is not shameful, it's holy ground. Come to those who admit they can't do it alone. I move toward those whose hands are empty, because that's when I can fill them. You kept trying to hold everything together, but I never asked. You toy only asked that you let me hold youth world. Taught you to be strong without help, to stay quiet until the storm passed, to smile so no one would worry. But I care more about your truth than your performance, more about your soul than your image. I've worn invisible armor for too long. You don't have to anymore. Not here, not with me. I'm not waiting for your victory story. I'm here for your surrender. I'm not moved by polished prayers. I'm moved by the ones that sound like broken breath. You've been more honest in your silence than most are in their speeches, and I honor that. I've never turned away from your truth. I've leaned in closer. You've tried to make peace with pain because you didn't think joy was safe, but I'm teaching you something new. Peace doesn't mean pretending. Peace means being whole in your tears, in your questions, in your becoming. Gand, I am making you whole, not just healed but restored. You won't always cry like this, you won't always feel so raw, but for now your softness is sacred. Your tears are planting something eternal. You thought you were collapsing, but you were surrendering, and surrender is not failure, it's freedom, it's the turning point. You've been surviving, but now you're being revivid. This is not about forgetting the pain, this is about transforming it, until even your most fragile memory becomes a place of testimony, not torment. Bears, I was there, and if I was there then nothing was wasted. You are not just being comforted, you are being rebuilt with more compassion, with deeper empathy, with a heart that understands what others cannot see, and that understanding will become a light for someone else. Because what you've walked through will not end with yo. You thought your story was too heavy, too complicated, but I am making it into a song of comfort for those still sitting in the dark. Trust you with this, not because you have it all figured out, but because you let me in, and that's all I ever want. Tidove opened the door, even with shaking hands, and I stepped in fully, without hesitation. Bess, I don't need perfection to dwell, I just need invitation. It. Now here I am, not just as your healer, but as your friend, your defender, your shelter. You've been judged by those who only saw fragments, but I see the whole, and I call it beautiful. You're not called to fix people, you're called to love. You're not expected to save anyone, you're invited to reflect the one who already died in you. You're already doing it by walking with peace, by resting when others rush by, showing up with presence when the world shouts for performance. This is the new way, the quiet way, the holy way, and I will keep walking with you. You are not stepping out alone, you are stepping into everything I've prepared, with grace beneath you, with favor around you, with my spirit within you. You may still cry, but the tears will feel different, not of sorrow, but of recognition, of beauty, of wonder, of gratitude that you made it not in your own strength but in me. And I rejoice with you. Heaven rejoices with you. Heaven rejoices with you. Heaven, fully healed, fully seen, fully present, is a mirror. You are a miracle, no longer hiding, no longer performing, just loved, just walking, just radiant with peace, because the one who stayed with you in the silence is now shining through you in the light. And this is what glory looks like.